This bite-sized session will give you an introduction to UKAS as the accreditation body in the UK and our role in healthcare accreditation. Accreditation in the UK has existed in one form or another for a long time, with various different organisations being involved prior to 1995, at which point those different organisations consolidated into the United Kingdom Accreditation Service, UKAS. UKAS was appointed as the sole UK national accreditation body at that point. Within healthcare and medical laboratories particularly, an organisation called Clinical Pathology Accreditation UK, CPA UK, existed from 1992 up until the mid-2010s, and that organisation accredited medical laboratories within the UK. In the mid-2010s, CPA combined with UKAS to allow UKAS to deliver the accreditation service for medical laboratories. UKAS administers robust and consistent assessment and accreditation processes, and we provide independent assessment resources and independent oversight to undertake assessments. We have around 2,500 accredited customers across the whole of UKAS, of which over 600 are in healthcare. So you can see that the healthcare accreditation sector is a big portion of the work that UKAS performs. We have around 260 permanent assessment managers, of which around 60 work in healthcare, and we have around 700 external technical assessors, of which around 150 work in the healthcare sector. Across healthcare, we accredit a number of different types of services, which you can see listed on the slide here. The large volume of accreditations in healthcare is in medical laboratories, including point-of-care testing services, and those services are accredited to ISO 15189, which is an international quality standard aimed directly at medical laboratory services, sorry. We also accredit diagnostic imaging services to two UK standards, which is QSI and BS 70000, and we accredit medical physics and clinical engineering services to BS 70000 as well. We accredit physiological science services to the IQIP standard, which is developed and owned by professional bodies related to physiological science services. And we also accredit clinical EQA schemes to ISO 17043, which is an international quality standard aimed at EQA schemes and proficiency testing services. We also have a small number of services accredited for dental service certification, care home inspection bodies, and conformity assessment relating to medical devices and IVD directives. So you can see that UKAS has a wide remit in accreditation and quality assurance of healthcare services. The value of accreditation to healthcare services is immense. We provide that independent external assurance that services have been evaluated to determine if they're compliant with the standards listed on previous slides. And we perform a continuous process. We do an annual assessment to each of our accredited services, but we also maintain contact throughout the year to make sure that if there are any issues or anything we need to be aware of, we have those open line of communications to continue to provide that external oversight and assurance. The value for patients is that they can see that our accreditation shows that services are delivered by competent staff, equipment is well maintained, there are processes in place to catch errors and prevent errors from happening in the first place. And there are also processes in place to make sure that practices and diagnostic pathways are aligned with current best practice. So one of the parts of the assessment that we perform is looking at the organisation of the management system and the management of documents and SOPs and processes to make sure that when national guidance documents or national best practice documents, etc., are updated, there are mechanisms within those services to be aware of the update and to build it into their clinical pathway and their SOPs and their clinical practice. The assessments we perform are delivered by UKAS assessment managers and by competent technical assessors who are trained in UKAS processes but also experienced in their healthcare science field. So for medical laboratories, we will use biomedical scientists, we will use clinical scientists, and we'll use medical doctors to assess the services and make sure that there's really good technical oversight of the service being delivered. Accreditation ensures a consistent standard across all accredited services. So if you have a blood test in one accredited laboratory, you can have assurance that the quality of the way the sample is handled and the results that are delivered is equivalent to all the other accredited services for that test. Healthcare standards are aligned with CQC and regulatory requirements. So there's a lot of commonality between the ISO 15189 standard and the CQC requirements, and for example, MHRA requirements for blood transfusion and HTA requirements for mortuaries and other services. So accreditation goes a long way to demonstrating compliance with those regulatory requirements as well. Accreditation can be used by commissioners to identify safe, efficient and patient-focused services. We're seeing more contracts coming out from commissioners which include a requirement for accreditation, which is a really positive step to acknowledging the value of accreditation and that assurance that our oversight gives. Hopefully this brief overview has introduced you to UKAS, given you a good idea of who we are and what we do.